Good morning, second graders. Happy Tuesday. Today for math, we are going to have a quick lesson. We're going to continue to practice partitioning shapes into equal parts. But the thing we're going to look at today is, can equal parts look different? The answer is yes. So we're going to practice some of that, and then that's what you will practice on your worksheet. All right, as a reminder, we've been splitting shapes into halves, which means 2 parts, thirds, which means 3 parts, and fourths, which means 4 parts. So in all of these shapes, the one thing you have to pay attention to is that the parts have to be equal. So for example, when I look at this circle, when I split it in halves, 2 parts, each part is exactly the same. When I look at this rectangle, I split it into 3 parts, each part is exactly the same. If your parts are not exactly the same, it is incorrect. It is not thirds. So for example, if I moved this piece over here and this piece was little and this one was big, this would not be equal parts. We could not say this is thirds. Thirds have to be equal. We can split parts into halves, thirds, and fourths in different ways. The only rule is that the parts have to be equal. So that's what I'm going to show you guys in our practice today, and that's what you'll be doing on your practice. So I have rectangles for mine, and the directions are partition this shape into halves. But I want these halves to look different. So I'm going to get my line tool, and the first one's simple. I'm just going to cut it in half. All right, I did it. I split my shape into 2 equal parts. This amount is exactly the same as that amount. So I have split my shape into halves. Now I need to split my shapes into halves another way. The only rule is that the parts have to be equal. So there's 2 different ways I could do this. One way is to split it right in half this way. So if I split my shape in half this way, make this line a little darker for you guys, I can check, is this part exactly the same as this part? If the answer is yes, then those are halves. Great work. Let's move this over and make a new one. I want to show you one other way. Can anyone think of another way? Shout it out if you think you can split this shape into halves another way. If you said that you could draw a horizontal line across the middle, you're correct. Remember, up and down is vertical, across is horizontal. So we can draw a horizontal line going from the middle of the shape here exactly to the middle of the shape here. Then we will know that our shape is in halves. This part is exactly the same as this part, and there are 2 parts, so I have halves. These are 3 different ways to split your shape in halves. The only rule is that these 2 pieces have to be exactly the same. So if I said, look, now this is halves, this top one now is not halves because this piece is smaller than this piece. So if I said you get this half of the candy bar and I get this half, we're not really getting halves, are we? Someone's getting a lot more. So halves have to be exactly equal. All right, we can do the same things with thirds and fourths, and I want to show you guys. All right, so for thirds, remember that a third means 3 parts. So I know I'm going to have to draw 2 lines to split this into 3 parts. And sometimes I draw a line and erase it if it's not perfectly equal parts. So I'm going to start by trying it out. There's 1/3. Let's see, I need another one. Another third is about right here. So let's check. Are my parts equal? This part seems a little bit smaller. So actually I'm going to erase that line and move it over. Making sure my parts are equal. This might take a little bit. Thirds are tricky because you can't just split it in half. But there we go. Now my pieces are in thirds. 1, 2, 3 parts that are exactly the same. I can do this another way too. How else can I do it? Think back to our halves. How else can we make thirds? We can't draw a diagonal line for thirds because those parts would not be equal. But I can draw a horizontal line. So let's do it. 1/3. Where I draw 2 lines. 2/3. Let's see, are my parts equal? This top piece seems a little shorter than the rest, so I'm just going to move that down. There we go. Now I have 1, 2, 3 equal pieces. So both of these shapes are partitioned or divided into thirds, and thirds have to be equal. Each part is the same. Simple as that. One more shape to go. The last shape we are going to do is fourths. The last amount. They're all rectangles. All right, for fourths, or another word we could hear for talking about fourths is quarters. So fourths, I think, are pretty easy. I think easier than thirds. So the rule I do for fourth is I split it in half first. Then I split my halves in half. So I'm going to do another one. This is half of it. So I'm going to go right in the middle and split that one in half. And then go right in the middle again here and split this one in half. If we're splitting each shape in half, we should have 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4. This part looks a little bit bigger than that part, so I was just going to move that one over. 4 equal parts. All 4 parts are exactly the same amount, and I have 4 of them, so yes, we have fourths. Just like thirds, there's one more way we can do it. We can draw horizontal lines, so across. So let's start by splitting it in half. And then we're just going to split those halves in half again. So I'm going to split this one in half. Right in the middle, go across. And make sure it's equal on both top and bottom. Good, now I have 1, 2, 3, but I need to split this in part to make it 4. So I'm going to go right in the middle of my half. Let's check it out. Does that look equal? I think it needs to move up a tiny bit. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. 1, 2, 3, 4 equal parts. So these shapes are now split into fourths. So that's all your work is today. You're going to have a worksheet that has blank parts. It'll say split into thirds, split into halves, but there's 2 shapes for each one, just like how I did. And I want you to show me 2 ways to split those shapes in halves, thirds, and fourths that are not the same. All right, guys, have fun with this. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and Machine and let us know. We are happy to help. All right, happy Tuesday. Have fun.